It's official, I'm a what if YouTuber now, and definitely not the cringy ones at that. That's how I know it was time to make the switch. How in one day the Dark Sonic video surpasses my what if Dragon Ball completion that I released 2 weeks ago, and I got like 100 subs from that video. It really is thanks to God's blessing, man, because faith comes first. But anyways, besides the usual, I really appreciate the large support I've been getting. You know, I don't plan to yap as much this time for this video, at least till the end. So just like a crypto investor who just scammed his audience, I'm about to go crazy. Enough of the jokes though, this is What If Dark Sonic Was Canon Part 2, and I hope you enjoy the sequel. Picking up back our unique story to where we left it, the events of the previous part and an even worse first impression than in canon has led to the angry-filled Guardian, Knuckles, and Dr. Robotnik to forming a strong alliance against our heroes. Moving to the ironically named Hidden Palace Zone, Knuckles begins to show how much trust he's given the Doctor by showing him the ancient morals of his culture, depicting many strange and prophetic events, even though Robotnik is more intrigued by the Master Emerald that he guards, and even the so-called Super Emerald Shrine that Knuckles loosely explains that it's been a legend lost to time, him only really knowing that every couple centuries it blesses an individual pure of heart with a power-up so enormous it'll put the 7 Chaos Emeralds to shame, almost like it's a one-time power-up. Echidna, rather than show me forgotten powers and legends, why don't you show me something more concrete? I was just getting to that. What I brought up earlier is just around the corner. The two teammates find themselves in front of a familiar mural that we should all recognize. The painting depicts a strange golem-like machine, while on the other side a creature with a yellow aura opposes it. For his whole adolescent life, the Red Echidna has always wanted to know what the painting really meant, which side he should be rooting for to reclaim the Master Emerald, but after what happened earlier, he thinks he now knows which side of good that is now, while turning around to the definition of circumference for his opinion. Staring at the mural himself now, said circumference reminisces, noticing that just like his grandfather, he's now also been able to study the ancient Echidna ruins. But instead of getting inspiration for creations like a possible ultimate life form, all he sees is that strange, evil anomaly that he saw in the Death Egg. Totally unlike the cocky blue brat he's been dealing with these past adventures, honestly scaring the guy a little bit since he did play a role in that accident. Of course, my red friend, it had to be fate for us to stand together against that blue rat. Snapping his fingers, Robotnik summons multiple egg robos, hollering that now having all 7 Chaos Emeralds in his possession, the plan would be for Knuckles and his creations, the knowledge of a native on their side, to track down our protagonists and take them out for good, while he had a few finishing touches on his greatest creation to solve, and also that Master Emerald to take, but he said that part eternally. Knuckles does have a strange suspicion of the Doctor hanging around in the back of his mind, and even the strange coloring of the lesser emeralds, but his mind has already been made up as he prepares himself to embark on his mission. Meanwhile, back with our protagonist in Angel Island Zone, just like his best buddy in the last part, Tails finds himself groggily waking up from his own strong impact, Sonic waiting there beside him with a fruit to boot, sharing it while he gets back on his leg. Now Tails doing the questioning of what happened to him this time, the only response from the blue blur being, it seems that's just more than Robotnik we're gonna have to worry about, a red native knucklehead too, but I'll make sure I beat him next time, you can count on it, with a clenching of his fists. Sonic purposely leaving out what happened during that encounter, not wanting to bring out but any more worry or crush the new confidence his sidekick was starting to have. The intellect of the fox deducting that something was definitely being left out here, it having to do with Sonic's new condition. He decides to turn his suspicions into motivation for now, as he wasn't going to be able to solve anything without studying the Chaos Emeralds himself, with Sonic leading forward with his slight chaos energy sensing as they both embark on their own mission in supersonic speeds to explore the floating island, find Robotnik and take their emeralds off his conniving hands. Now truly transitioning to the events of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, our protagonists travel across many zones and biomes that are very varied for a supposedly tropical floating island, like Hydrocity Zone, which required Sonic to be bailed out like a little kid because even with his boosted stats here, swimming was still a no-go as Tails paddles the Hedgehog back to shore. Next being Marble Garden Zone, whose beautiful scenery reminds Sonic of the luscious environment back on Little Planet. The stories being told just raring Tails to go Tails see the place for himself and hopefully experiment on this whole time traveling phenomenon. But it is not until Ice Cap Zone where Sonic's senses gain any leads. Traveling down an icy mountain as Sonic snowboards coolly with Tails flying behind him, and especially with no food or movies in sight, it brings around the perfect opportunity for an ambush. Immediately, the duo is aghast when out of the mountainside, multiple egg robos and some sort of crusher machine piloted by familiar Red Echidna attacks them while sliding down the slope. Knuckles causing an avalanche with his new toy to hopefully get rid of the invaders by more forceful means, basically mirroring how he was acting in Sonic Advance 2 if you guys know that. Multiple beams head for Tails attempting to shoot him out of the sky. Sonic, sensing the dangers around him, maneuvers around to fight the bots as the snow inches closer and closer, having eye contact with Knuckles the entire exchange with an angered glint in his eye. But before any old grudges can be settled though, our two-tailed fox's plan is already in the works, purposely drawing the beams to hit Knuckles' new machine before calling up Sonic to spin dash with him in midair. Thrusting his best friend instead of the power inside of him, the blue and yellow blurs pair up as a new collective spin dash never seen before rams through all the robots at the perfect hypotenuse angle that only trigonometry knowledge would know. Tails after, carrying Sonic off to the next zone as they can hear Knuckles' temper tantrum yells from below. This basically becomes the way of things for a while, as Sonic and Tails go throughout the various zones and always end up having a boss battle with the Echidna and a new contraption for him to use, and even Robotnik joining up a couple times, the Doctor clearly holding back his anger as the Roro like Knuckles doesn't exactly have the best finesse when it comes to using machines or fights altogether that doesn't use his fists as the main problem solver. It is not until during the iconic Big Arms boss fight that Sonic begins to notice something. The inner power in him is giving him slight awareness, saying, "The emeralds are in their tails, one on each arm and the last one's in the core. Egghead, you're gonna tell me what you did to me." Tails being shocked when a dark essence follows his hero just like back in Hilltop Zone, going band for band with both arms that Tails knows Sonic should be able to handle normally. Each Chaos Emerald is described to have almost limitless power. How is Sonic going toe to toe with two of them? Noticing the losing streak though, Sonic isn't angry enough to actually fully transform this time. Tails panically insisting that they should dive out of the ship, since with the current altitude he should be able to fly the duo down safely. But strangely, Sonic growls that the Chaos Emeralds are in there, and he instinctively needed to have them, and he wasn't gonna let the Doctor get away this time, continuing the battle regardless. While Robotnik retorts that I'll gladly take the Hedgehog out of his misery. The new shade of blue befitted a pest like himself. Taking initiative surprisingly, Tails actually tackles Sonic out of there, both hazily landing on a bouncy planned Mushroom Hill Zone. Before our main protagonist can get up and ask his own questions, our two-tailed fox surprisingly demands Sonic to be upfront about what really happened when they first came here, because he really wasn't acting like his usual self clearly. Sonic was always cocky, but never to this degree. Calming down from the surprise press that Tails just put him through, Sonic loosely explains what he remembers. Getting angry, a door opening in his mind, and some sort of evil voice in his head that got on his nerves. By the time the duo actually go back to adventuring together, they've deduced that anger is the trigger to activating the negative chaos energy inside of him. Tails hypothesizing for now, the power wasn't exactly dangerous, but it does cloud Sonic's judgment in exchange for power, kinda like a couple guys in a different universe. Unbeknownst to them though, both being intelligent minds, Tails is not the only one to make this discovery, and that individual's plan was about to go off without a hitch. Alright dog, breaking the fourth wall a little bit, I think it's about time for the battle we've all been waiting for. Sonic's inner chaos radar rings in his head harder than ever before, as our protagonists enter the mystical hidden palace zone. Tails gawking at the ancient manuscripts as Sonic preps himself confidently, as the feeling in his gut was telling him he was about to have a fight like no other, and this time there was no way he was gonna hesitate. The fastest thing alive does get his wish. Going through the next corridor with the same moral we saw earlier stands Knuckles, who for an angry fellow stands calmly in a fighting stance that his ancestors would be proud of. Sonic speaking up, So Knucklehead, have you realized you've been getting played by Dr. Omelet yet? Or do you need a little bit of a runaround so it can get through your small brain? Gruffly replying, the only thing that'll be going through will be you after this upcoming beatdown. I've learned your trick. Now come at me, Hedgehog, because today's the day I fulfill a prophecy my people have long foretold, as red electricity wraps around him. Tails also prepares to fight with his own fighting stance, but Knuckles, showing his warrior background, barks at the pair. That do they not have any honor? Sonic steps forward, telling his friend to hang back. He attempts to argue, but Sonic reassures that the bad feeling from earlier extended to more than just Knuckles, so he needed them to be on the lookout for Robotnik or something. Sonic begins to rev up his feet to make this battle quick, but finds himself tripping as Knuckles shows his preparation by smashing the ground into pieces, leading to the perfect shaky foundation to land a devious jab to the chest of the Hedgehog, sending him flying back to the rubble. Sonic gets up, flash stepping to Knuckles to overwhelm him just like he did last time, with multiple punches in a circle. Gonna need to be quicker than that, you're too slow. Knuckles grabs onto the arm of the Hedgehog though, replying, and you're too weak, stopping his assault with a slam as he uses the sharps of his gloves to bury the blue bird in multiple blows like a barrage. Echidna yelling back at Sonic to stop playing with him. He will not be disgraced by his holding back. If he won't show the same dark power than before, then he'll destroy him for good. Chanting in the Echidna tongue as Knuckles' stats begin to increase, with his fist glowing with green energy from the Master Emerald. Tails looking in horror as it seems to be the end of our hero. Fine. With a clenched fist, negative chaos energy returns to the Hedgehog as he double kicks Knuckles out of the way, fully transforming into Dark Sonic, with now Tails witnessing the change fully for himself. Dark Sonic braces his legs with purple electricity in his quills as Knuckles dashes forward to do the same, beginning a true brawl between crash outs as Dark Sonic fully envelops himself into the fight, no longer holding back, moving so fast that the wind behind him causes slices in the air that cuts the Echidna, or even going spin dash for spin dash that he violently wins. Knuckles isn't to be underestimated, however, using his Master Emerald connection and finally having a challenge after all these years, pushes the Echidna to contend with our warp protagonist even as he slowly loses. Kicks going against punches and red streaks of dodges going against the madness of a Hedgehog that just seems to keep getting stronger. Knuckles begins to bob and weave rhythmically because as matched as he is, he still has his head on straight, and with full gusto headbutts the Hedgehog across multiple pillars with pure positive chaos energy that for the first time causes Sonic some pain, almost like that type of energy is his direct opposite, before revving up his feet again in an infinity symbol to kick Knuckles into Kingdom Come. Out of nowhere though, Tails attempts to enter the fray to warn the fighters of something important. Knuckles, still hanging on, attempts to swat the fox away, but with lightning speed the Dark Sonic takes the attack while grabbing his ankles, spinning the red foe like a perfect circle into a slam headlock combo. Tails screaming out to both mammals, with them responding with an annoyed what? Just like a bar of soap giving the good guys the slip, our heroes turn back to see Robotnik in a new contraption dashing out of the palace with the Master Emerald to boot, almost congratulating Knuckles for being a good sport and following through with his plan to a T. Stopping the fight, Knuckles angrily retorts that they were supposed to be a team, betraying his trust and making him a fool this entire time. Ha! That was child's play. But don't worry about your little prophecy. I have just the machine ready to fulfill it for you. Especially you, Sonic. It will test your strength and speed in more ways than one. With a snap of his fingers and bye-bye, a blue metallic blur bursts into the room with a red glint in his eyes, with his voice modulator yelling, "I'll crush you!" Gut punching both the Hedgehog and the Echidna into next week, as they're both driven away from the palace into Sky Sanctuary Zone, just like that one super manga panel. Seeing everything fall apart and Sonic no longer at his side, Tails begins to panic, almost returning back to his frightful ways when everyone made fun of him for a genetic mutation that he had no control over, barely having the courage to fly into the next zone himself. Almost on instinct though, while getting hit with ferocious combos by the Terminator, even with his hazy mind too, Sonic, realizing what he must do, begins to yell with all his might towards Tails' direction. "You can do this, Tails, you've grown. You've already proved all your past bullies wrong ever since Emerald Hill, and now there's just one more bully left for our hero hero like you to stand up to, before getting knocked away to a nearby cloud. The words hit the fox's consciousness like a train, staring down at his hands, then entering his own fray, using all of his endurance to chase down Robotnik's getaway vehicle. Knuckles remarking to the Hedgehog that those words were surprisingly noble of him, while Sonic jeers that he's just glad he's starting to think for once and realize he isn't the bad guy here, forming up with the Echidna, saying this faker has at least 4 of the Chaos Emeralds inside of him, so it's gonna be a tough one. With this, viewers, we see 2 epic battles going on simultaneously, with brains against brains, with Tails versus the Good Doctor, while Dark Sonic and Co. go against Mecha Sonic in different parts of Sky Sanctuary. Mecha Sonic showing himself especially as an anomaly, as he seems to almost have the 7 deadly sins of pride, especially, wanting to quickly prove that he wasn't just like his failed brothers, and he was going to destroy the real Hedgehog for himself and surpass this supposed dark power. Rocketing towards both Black and Red with a fully cannon charged up, but sadly he couldn't calculate a limb glitch, as both Dark Sonic and Knuckles hit a pressure point in the ankle. Then tapping into his inner speed force, Sonic quickly does the rest to his mechanical makeup. Surprised at the dark power and barely moving on the ground now, he refused to be taken down so quickly, because he was the mightiest! Immediately, the 4 other Chaos Emeralds whirl in his body as semi-super Mecha Sonic, with a robotic determination, re-enters the battle with chaos energy that puts even Dark Sonic to shame, almost one-shotting the Hedgehog if it wasn't for Knuckles' save. With a serious tone to his voice, the Echidna relinquishes the thought of even winning the battle. They needed the Master Emerald as the senior of the Chaos Emeralds to stop his power so they could win, both looking up to the sky as, beknownst to Tails, everything depended on him. Cutting back to him though, Tails is truly trying his best to dodge and weave the missiles coming out of Robotnik's machine, but his body's on the verge of giving out, not only from the damage but also from the villain purposely flying higher into the atmosphere so the fox could slowly use oxygen and go right back to being the scared child he was supposed to be. But as always, Robotnik doesn't understand emotions at all, as the little pep talk from earlier and his attempts in replicating Sonic's courage has lit a fire under Tails that we wouldn't see until Adventure 1. Knowing that he may not have Sonic's speed or Knuckles' strength, he did have the intellect to know that Robotnik having 3 negatively powered Chaos Emeralds near the almighty Master Emerald was gonna cause an explosive reaction whether he knew it or not. Flying forward with the last bit of his strength and grabbing onto the repurposed Death Egg machine, he begins to tactically rip wire after wire to mess up the flow of the energy of the emeralds. The robot begins to splint and splutter comedically as a self-destruct sequence happens, and with the last bit of his consciousness, Tails lands on the senior emerald, making the weight a little bit too imbalanced to be kept up from the machine as both the Master Emerald and the knocked out Tails plummet from the sky. Like a movie scene, the Death Egg robot combusts in the background as the 4 other emeralds scatter across the globe. Dark Sonic smiles from down below, knowing that the explosion was a sign that his trust in his best friend was in the right place. Turning around chuckling though, as he cracks his own knuckles with the Echidna sharing the same name follows. With Mecha Sonic no longer having any of his superpower, he gets treated with a true positive and negative energy infused beatdown before the mechanical copy is booted off the edge of Sky Sanctuary Zone like a piece of trash. Finally pinging an end to our predicament, Sonic looks up into the sky, growling to his companion that they needed to catch Tails right now. Powerful gem or not, he wasn't gonna survive that fall. The Dark Essence in Sonic conveniently petering out from the battles of the day, Knuckles steps up though, telling the Hedgehog he'll make sure he makes it, cartoonly grabbing the Hedgehog and spinning him around to throw him across the biomes of Angel Island. Looking back as a thanks, Sonic begs whatever evil guy, thing, voice, or whatever is inside him to give him one last boost to catch his best friend. Like a transaction has been processed, dark energy only envelops his legs, being barely enough to catch Tails and the Master Emerald in midair before crashing down to a nearby cloud into the ocean below, both being slumped unconscious on top of the Master Emerald. Later on though, we find Sonic and Tails groggily waking up from their injuries near the Master Emerald Shrine. Seeing Knuckles patiently wait for the duo to wake up, he remarks that it was a true test of strength to be carrying 2 people and the Master Emerald at the same time back up here. Embarrassingly though, he apologizes for his original assumption of the pit, as Sonic responds with a no problem knucklehead, glad it took only the danger of his island to figure that part out. Sonic uses the opportunity also to congratulate his best bud, smiling that the fox looked very cool today, especially with that stunt that he pulled. Now truly realizing how far he's come, Tails looks down embarrassed as both boys tease him on his accomplishments. Now being the best opportunity though, Tails turns around asking Knuckles if he knows anything about Sonic's condition. Actually giving some thought to this, he replies knowing only one event where negative chaos energy was used on such a scale, solemnly reminding him that's also the main reason why he stands as the last remaining member of his tribe today. This being the scene we leave off at, as unbeknownst to all protagonists, antagonists, and anti-heroes, near the cliffsides of Lava Reef Zone, a robotic sound echoes around the cave. Due to the nature of his decommissioning, the Sonic Terminator still hangs onto his AI mainframe, as his red eyes light up one more time, now knowing he has all the data he needs from the previous fight to fulfill his own ambition. Deviating from the Doctor's programming and researching the Doctor's database installed in him, especially getting interest on the mysterious Phantom Ruby, as this is where I'll be leaving the story off for right now. Dang man, I'm about to get a headache from all this typing I've been doing. Do you know how embarrassing it is for a grown man to be spending hours in a day typing about a fictional Sonic getting his own ultra ego? I am very proud of this script, even though I did go way over my original word limit. Though I'll be taking a pause on this story to actually start my first Dragon Ball What If, since it's pretty much official. I'm making the switch to making What If videos from now on. And hopefully soon set up that whole Patreon and membership junk, because I do plan to have like maybe an exclusive series up there for higher supporters. Plus the next semester is about to start up, so it's gonna be a little bit till then. Regardless, I appreciate the watch. Thanks for the little bit of the blowing up that happened in part 1. Just like I said last time though, comment your thoughts and criticisms below. Peep my second channel, The Black Lorax, if you want more from me. And thank you again to my boy Stardust, especially for reviewing my script again. May God bless you in whatever time or situation you're in, and I'm out of here, dog.